Acum intrăm să ne intersectăm un pic și cu propaganda de stânga, pentru că mulți oameni își închipuie că propaganda Rusiei nu ajunge decât pe partea de dreapta, pe partea de, cum îi zice, își închipuie că ajunge doar pe partea de conservatori, știi, când ăștia auriștii sunt plătiți de Putin. Lumea se gândește că doar acolo e. Nu-i doar acolo. Și uite, a venit NFKRZ, bine că mi-ați trimis link-ul foarte frumos, a vorbit despre chestia asta, cum și pe extrema stângă, dar deci întotdeauna pe extreme se întâmplă propaganda rusească, pentru că este menită să destabilizeze. Nu interesează pe ruși că destabilizează din zona de extremă dreaptă sau din zona de extremă stângă, atâta timp cât destabilizează, pentru ei ok. Și folosesc tot felul de idioți utili atât de pe dreapta cât și de pe stânga. Mai vizibil sunt aia de pe dreapta în general, dar și aia de pe stânga există. Nu e chiar așa de ușor să identifici, că ei se ascund de pe extrema stângă, se ascunde, nu știu, cu comunismele, cu alea, cu să fie bine, să nu fie rău, capitalismul e nasol, vestul e imperialist, nu știu ce, și în spatele acestei întregi discuții, hopa, se strecoară și niște propagandă sau multe puncte vin și de pe propaganda care este sifonată via Rusia. Hai să vedem ce zice NFKRZ, ia? Hai să vedem.
When most people look at propaganda coming from a certain country, it's very easy to write it off as very stupid and one-sided and very easy to see through. But the thing is that a lot of the times that is not really the case. Take Russian propaganda, for example. Not only are a lot of people appalled by it, but it seems like most people actually just make fun of it. And not only people in the West do this, but also people in Russia as well. But one thing you need to realize is that Russian propaganda is way better than you think it is. First of all, it is of course very effective on the territory of Russia when we talk about Russian news, etc. So that makes sense. But Russian propaganda doesn't stop there, right? So we also have Russian propaganda that's aimed at Western viewers. Take RT, known as Russia Today, for example. A lot of people tend to write RT off and saying that Russia doesn't really have a good way of propagating their ideas within the American or Western European populace, because for the longest time, Russia Today has been holding and also using center-right and right-wing talking points in their coverage. So they were...
Dar asta, aici tind să-l contrazic un pic, pentru că, ok, folosești puncte conservatoare right-wing, dar astea sunt foarte interesante pentru publicul de dreapta, publicul conservator, publicul republican din America. Și ăla e un target pentru ei. Există și un public care începe să fie din ce în ce mai numeros și anume publicul ăsta de extremă stângă. Nu știu, oamenii ăștia, hai să-l zicem woke, da, hai să folosim cuvântul ăsta, încep și să fie public țintă. Pentru că au și ei, mă rog, la rândul lor, ăia intersecțional cu comunismul, au setul lor de nebuni în cap. Și atunci propaganda rusească se folosește și de asta ca să mai destabilizeze un pic, ca să mai ducă niște propagandă într-o zonă din care se știe că nu o să câștige statele pe al căror teritoriu se întâmplă genul ăla de propagandă de extremă stângă. Și acum ei operează inclusiv în zona de extremă stângă. În zona de extremă dreaptă știm cu toții, cu republicanii, cu Trump, cu, mă rog, scandaluri, narative ale presei rusești care sunt preluate de tot felul de guri de tun conservatoare și republicane din America și așa mai departe, asta știm. Ce nu știm foarte mult este și partea de extremă stângă, pe care acum noi în România începem să o explorăm.
Were very pro-Trump, they were pretty critical of the Black Lives Matter movement in the US, for example, and obviously they're pro-Russian. So for the longest time, I believe that Russian propaganda is doing pretty well in the West, but it's only working for the people who are already kind of on the right, and there's no possible way you can parrot pro-Russian talking points to sort of leftist people. But the truth is that, guys, I was wrong. There are quite a few Western media outlets that are operating in English who not only have a very leftist agenda and leftist talking points, pro-LGBT, pro-BLM, anti-Trump, most importantly, anti-US imperialism, we're gonna come back to this.
Da, deci anti-imperialismul, când o dau ăștia de pe extrema stângă cu anti-imperialism, pe de fapt ne deranjându-i așa de tare imperialismul rusesc sau la chinezesc, dar pe interesează imperialismul ăsta vestic-occidental, atunci, hopa, vedem niște partisan hacks. România reprezentat de, hai să nu ne mai ferim, Team Prieten, da?
But also pretty pro...
Dar nu numai. Team Prieten așa, mai ăștia mai, nu știu, vocali pe online-ul YouTube/Twitch. Dar mai sunt și alții. Mulți alții. Mă rog, mulți alții. Nu sunt așa mulți ca publicul Team Prieten, dar sunt destul de mulți și aia.
pro-Russian, and they are also pretty closely affiliated with RT and the Russian state. You guys never heard of it? Well, today we're gonna be looking at how Russian state propaganda co-ops leftist talking points and produces basically pro-Russian media for a leftist audience in the United States and Western Europe. This is some true informational warfare shit. And I'm gonna be honest, with the things we're gonna see in this video, you gotta kind of give props to whoever's doing this, because this is kind of smart, and I didn't think they reached this far. Oh yeah, I forgot to introduce myself. Hello Blazers, it is your boy Roman, your favorite neighborhood Russian. How you guys doing today, and welcome to a brand new video. Now, if you're a media savvy person, then you might have already guessed what kind of outlets I'm talking about today. These are the media known as Redfish and Soapbox Stand. Now these are pretty big. For example, Redfish has almost 500,000 followers on Instagram, and Soapbox Stand has almost 100,000. Now initially they were actually found out.
Dacă ai o problemă cu imperialismul în general e ok, poți să ai o problemă cu imperialismul în general, e ok să ai o problemă cu imperialismul în general, dar fii, nu știu, încearcă cât de cât să fii consecvent, adică dacă ai o problemă cu imperialismul american, cu imperialismul britanic, cu imperialismul Europei, imperialismul vestic, dar când invadează Rusia în Ucraina zici, bă, i-a provocat NATO, atunci nașpa. Când te plângi de Fondul Monetar Internațional că a dat credite, care au băgat în faliment nu știu câte țări, după care când face China același lucru zici, inițiativa Belt and Road este extraordinară, China este genială, deja clar, ai un mega bias, da? Deci dacă nu-ți place imperialismul, dar nu-ți place decât imperialismul ăla vestic, da? Ce se înțelege prin imperialism vestic, în fine, discuții și aici. Dacă doar ăla te deranjează și celelalte tipuri de imperialism te deranjează mai puțin spre deloc, ba chiar le încurajezi, atunci de fapt n-ai o problemă cu imperialismul. Deci ești doar partisan hack al, nu știu, sistemelor totalitariste, de fapt.
Out about these is, I gotta explain myself. I'm kind of a left-leaning guy overall. I would call myself like a social democrat, kind of a Bernie bro if you would put me into like the realm of US politics. Not a huge fan of Trump or, you know, PragerU or RT or whatever, any sort of right-wing media. And I follow a lot of people who I agree with, obviously. And one of those people is Anthony Fantano, one of the biggest music critics in the world, the big YouTuber. You might know him. Anyway, I think this was in like early 2021 when there was another development of the conflict between Israel and Palestine. And I saw Anthony Fantano post something pro-Palestinian on his Instagram, and I went to check out the post, and under the post, I saw like a little sign saying that this media is controlled by the Russian state. And I'm like, what is this? Because if you guys know politics, you obviously know that historically, it just so happens that supporting Israel is a more of a right-wing stance in America, for example, when supporting Palestine is more of a left-wing stance. And that post was super clearly pro-Palestine, and it was posted by some accounts under which Instagram put like a special note saying that this account is owned by the Russian state. And I was like, what is this? A sort of left-leaning video posted by an account related to the Russian state? And that account was Soapbox Stand. And this is how I initially found out about this, and my mind was blown. Because like I already said, I thought Russian propaganda only sort of exists in the right-wing bubble. Because Russia itself is pretty conservative, and a lot of the talking points you see on Russian news, for example, are pretty right-wing, and I would say in line with the Republican Party in the US. And
Dar trebuie să ținem minte că ce interesează pe ei atunci când fac propaganda în afară este destabilizarea. Da? Destabilizarea din punct de vedere politic, social și așa mai departe a țărilor în care operează propaganda rusească. Spre exemplu, la Russia Today, în America, este unul, nu știu exact, sunt mai mulți poate, dar unul clar, unul Caleb Maupin, care este comunist de ăla, stalinist, la Russia Today, în Statele Unite. Deci ei au, interesul lor este să promoveze chestii anti-vest. Chestiile anti-vest pot să vină fie prin izolaționism de ăsta trumpist sau conservator sau antiglobalist, fie prin anti-occidentalism de tip comunist extremă stângă. Atâta timp cât este anti-vest, anti-occident, anti-globalism, anti-nu știu ce, e ok, de-aia extrema stângă și extrema dreaptă, pe unele zone, horseshoe, da? Nu mai explicăm ce e horseshoe.
And then I went on the account and I was amazed. Now there's a funny turn with this account that happened recently, but I'm just gonna go to like, you know, a couple of months back before the recent events and see what this account is all about. So as you can see right here, this is a clearly very leftist Instagram account. You know, here we see something about ICE. We see quotes of prominent African-American rights activists. Something pro-Palestinian here. Here's some like pro-socialist meme and also like making fun of US imperialism. And this is pretty much this account in general. It has like general leftist takes and actually might agree with a lot of the things that are on there. But the thing is that it's like every 10 posts or something, there's like something slightly pro-Russian in this account. This, for example, this was in December 2021. It's about fighting glorification of Nazism. And I guess it was some sort of vote. And it shows that US and Ukraine are the only ones against it. So this is interesting, right? This is interesting that they would post this. Or you know, this right here, when you have zero corruption because of coded lobbying, saying that, you know, the US is just corrupt as like Russia is or whatever, any other Eastern country, but they just call it differently. And I mean, again, you can criticize lobbying, but it's interesting. Or they have this right here about the Soviet Union and its part in winning World War II, saying that more Soviets died than Americans. And I mean, this is facts though. I agree with that. The Soviets have suffered probably the biggest sacrifice, but America helped a lot as well with their land leads and everything. Whatever, I'm not talking about that.
Oh, da, niște sume imense, niște chestii materiale foarte semnificative cu care a ajutat America, Uniunea Sovietică în al doilea război mondial. Nu e de neglijat deloc ajutorul logistic și material pe care l-a dat America.
It's just interesting that this leftist media talks about what the Soviets did in World War II. Like, this is not something an average leftist media would talk about, right? Because it has to do with Russia. And now, guys, the thing is, we gotta wait for the ultimate punchline, which is what happens to this media outlets once the special military operation in Ukraine started. So on February 25th, they posted this. Fuck, three-letter word that starts with the word W. I'm not gonna say it, but yeah. And here's what they said, by the way. Like many, we underestimated the threat of a Russian attack given the countless lies told by the West to push for. We were wrong in our predictions. We condemn intervention, not to Ukraine. Bro, even like in this post, they cannot start talking about Western propaganda. It's incredible. But what followed next was actually pretty crazy too. On 1st of March, they posted Russia without Putin. What is happening? Well, guys, I found the answer. You see that logo there at the bottom says Mavic? Mavic is actually a social media company that owns Soulbox stands, and it is affiliated with Ruptly, which is part of RT, Russia Today. I mean, it's on Wikipedia. It says that it's been labeled a Russian state-backed entity by Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube due to its connections to German-based Mavic Media GmbH, which was majority owned by RT, Russia Today. And here's the punchline, you guys. On February 28th, 2022, CEO Anissa Nawai, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, terminated Mavic's service agreement with RT following the, again, I can't say this, special military operation in Ukraine. So, bro, these motherfuckers were straight up posting like Russian propaganda disguised as leftist media for years.
Land-lease a fost 11,3 miliarde, adică 180 de miliarde în banii de azi. 180 de miliarde land-lease-ul, da? 180 de miliarde echivalent. 11,3 miliarde în banii de atunci, în banii de acum raportat la inflație, 180 de miliarde. Cât a primit Ucraina până acum de la americani? A primit câteva miliarde, dar niciun caz nu se apropie de 180.
We're like, okay, this is going too far now. We've been calling Ukrainians Nazis prior to this, but now we see what our actions led us to. I mean, this is just poetic, because the thing is that I wanted to make a video on this like outlet before, but now that this happened and they actually like quit and basically said fuck Russia, it's poetic, dude. And yeah, this archived tweet is what the lady who runs the Soulbox stand media said. Today I cut all ties with RT, I have terminated Mavic's service agreement with the channel and served all contact, full stop. And actually this lady used to be a RT reporter before she started this media, so I think it's just really interesting for her now, right? To live and to see real consequences of her actions. Oh boy. Anyway, now let's talk about Redfish. So Redfish is also owned by Ruptly, which is part of RT. And I think their Twitter bio is hilarious. Redfish. And then you have the Twitter like official, sign that says Russia State affiliated media. And then the bio says not Russia State controlled media. Editorially independent, with the oppressed. Anyway, Redfish is more popular than Soulbox Stand, and I've been, you know, looking around on their Instagram trying to see what they're posting right now, and the majority of it is basically has to do with, again, criticizing American imperialism, which again is a rightful thing to do, and this is something that, well, Western leftists do this all the time, literally. I mean, if you go on any Western, like, socialist streamer, he's gonna be talking about, like, the US meddling with socialist revolutions and stuff in South American countries, etc. People talk about this. So yeah, as you can see, the majority of the stuff here is about Palestine, something about Gagarin here, cool. Soviet memorial desecrated in Germany. Yeah, I mean, this is a good one. This is a good one right here. This is perfect. And this was posted on 5th of April, by the way. So yeah, you can see, like, you know, they post in protests, like anti-Ukrainian protests. But I was actually interested in seeing what they would post when the special military operation just started. So here it is. They're talking about oil prices. This was the first thing they posted, by the way. And about weapons manufacturers stocks horizon, which makes sense, obviously, you know. As global markets fall following Russia's announcement of a military operation in Ukraine, oil prices are reaching new peaks, and weapons manufacturers are making profits. Time and again, innocent lives are lost while the arms and oil industries benefit from the As Lenin puts it, without overthrowing capital, it is impossible to end the by a truly democratic peace. Okay, so capitalism is to blame for the current events between Russia and Ukraine. And look, guys, I'm like...
Exact. Asta e narativa lor. Capitalismul e de vină, vestul e de vină, NATO e de vină. Bă, principalul vinovat e dracu Putin și cu imperialismul, gândirea imperialistă rusească. Nu ne-am duce să zicem asta. No, ne ducem la NATO e de vină că nu știu ce a făcut, capitalismul așa, la. E destul de clar cine e de vină în acest război.
Like a fucking left-leaning guy, and I love shitting on capitalism, but bro, it's like, before I saw these outlets, I thought that there is no way like a pro-Russian sentiments can be fed to a leftist audience, but it shows that they can spin it in pretty much any way they can. This is like, this has like a leftist message, a Marxist-Leninist message, bro, in the context of the current events in Ukraine. This is like, what is going on? What is actually going on? Here they're posting about, you know, again, people protesting against NATO. Because obviously, when you criticize American imperialism, you've got to criticize NATO. And the thing is that, since Russia is at odds with NATO, this is very much... you know, it kind of fits, you know? So yeah, when I first saw these outlets, I was amazed because I was like, okay, well, the people who are doing this, they're actually way smarter than I thought because, okay, admittedly, to be honest, right, RT, Russia Today, is doing a pretty good job in promoting Russian talking points for Westerners because that's their aim, right? That's their job, and I guess they're doing it well because, dudes, I'm getting a lot of comments on this channel from people who are basically using RT talking points, and I know they got it from RT. When I see, like, some 50-year-old boomer from Kentucky, whatever, saying, Russia is a great nation and a bastion of conservative hope or whatever, I know he got that opinion from RT. I've been aware of this for a long time. You can watch my video Stop Idolizing Russia if you want to see what I was talking about. That was like 2 years ago and it pretty much holds true to this day. So again, I thought they're doing good by convincing, you know, right-wing people sort of, or censors people, but again, I never thought that there's gonna be any way when they're gonna co-opt leftist talking points to promote Russian messages, but they've done that, and I think this actually ties in pretty well into Soviet talking points that's been used for a pretty long time. There's a certain argument and a certain phrase which has been used by Soviet propaganda to sort of fight back at the American claims of human rights violations in the Soviet Union. And this is the phrase known as, and I'm sorry for saying this, and you are lynching heroes. Essentially, it's like a basic name for a type of like counter...
Scuzați slărul, da?
Propaganda, I guess, where Soviet Russia would say that, yes, the US is saying that we have, you know, human rights violations, we don't have freedom of speech, but at least we don't hang people because they're black, you know, at least we're not racist. In our beautiful country of the USSR, every nation and every race lives peacefully together, and America, you talk about human rights, but you guys are like killing black people in the streets. Essentially, that was their take for the longest time. And for example, right here, you can see like a piece of Soviet propaganda, which shows America and a lynched black person. And this was also used as a tool of anti-capitalist propaganda in the Soviet Union as well, saying that, you know, communism is great, and in capitalism, you see, they need slavery, they need racial segregation, they need racism. You know, essentially pointing out the unfairness of the American society and trying to say that the Soviets got it better and that we don't kill black people.
Vi se pare cunoscută această narativă? Aceasta este narativa comuniștilor români de pe Twitch. Da? Deci, despre asta e vorba. Asta este, deci exact asta e narativa lor. Dacă tu uiți la toți acești luptători pentru, mă rog, toți, deci stai așa, ca să fac un disclaimer frumos, da? Există probleme cu drepturile minorităților, există probleme cu rasism, există probleme cu drepturile pentru comunitatea LGBT, nu le contest eu în niciun caz. Dar îi avem pe acești mari luptători pentru drepturile omului, care în același timp ne fac apologetica Rusiei, apologetica Chinei, apologetica Coreei de Nord, apologetica lui Ceaușescu.
And to be honest, these leftist pro-Russian media are kind of doing the same thing. They're continuing the tradition because it's a deeply anti-racist, pro-BLM, etc. Media outlet, and it's pretty easy to see the underlying message behind a lot of what they posted, essentially saying that the US is a deeply imperialist and racist and, dystopian state, whatever, and other certain countries like Russia, for example, we don't have any racial issues, We actually might be more free than America, right, guys? So you know what I'm talking about, and it's wild. Whoever, fucking came up with this on the RT team, let's fucking push our talking points with a leftist message. I mean, honestly, good job. I had no idea they would even think of this, but they've been doing it for years. I guess I'm done. So yeah, I mean, the point of this video is basically I'm just trying to say that Russian state propaganda is smarter than you think. Not only is it bigger than you think, but it also can influence your opinions in different ways that you might not even suspect. So yeah, all I want to say is just, make sure to always check your info and don't let propaganda from any side influence you, and try to be rational, even if it's fucking impossible in the current state of the world, but...
De acord.